All right, guys, welcome back to Grow the Earth. And today we've kind of got a little tragedy. We're back here in our orchard and we have got mandarin tree that was unfortunately damaged by the wind. Here in Texas, almost all of our fruit trees have to be grafted. Now, this is the same across most of the US. Most of your fruit trees are going to be grafted because they put them on a different rootstock in order to make sure that they're a productive tree, to get them to fruit faster, and to make sure that they get the fruit that they want. And unfortunately, this one actually broke on the part that was grafted on. Now, this is not a lost cause. This tree is not going to die and not going to have to be thrown away because there is a way that we can save this. Now, you have two options in this case. We can either just cut off the part that broke off, or we can try and regraft or save this part of this tree that has all of these nice, pretty green leaves on it. And one thing that is really helping us out with this tree is the fact that the outside layer, the layer that you see, is not actually what is really growing and not is what is transporting all your nutrients and all your water. It is the green layer that is right below the surface. And luckily on this tree, that didn't break completely. So we still have half of this tree that is doing the work of pushing nutrients up top and is basically keeping this upper part alive. Now, what we have previously done is we pulled all of the fruit that was on this tree. And that's part of the reason why it broke is because we had this young tree that has been grafted and it had fruit on it and it wasn't tied up, it wasn't staked properly, and that allowed it to sway in the wind enough to where it finally gave way and broke. So I'm going to show you how we can save this tree, how we can save this upper part, and how we're going to make sure that this tree survives. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we've got two choices that we can do with this tree. So our graft is where we have taken the rootstock of the tree and we have grafted on what type of plant we want to grow. And since it broke up here and not way down here, this tree can be saved. Now, the two ways that we can save that is we can either cut off this break and let the top part of this tree actually leaf out and grow new limbs and grow new leaves and all that stuff. Or we can basically graft this top part back onto the bottom part here. Now, we're going to treat this basically as if we're grafting on a new tree onto the top of this tree that already exists. And one of the things that we can do is but you can go and you can buy actually a grafting kit, which is going to come with a nice little sharp knife, some grafting tape, things like that. And we can put this back together and we can save it. Now, as I mentioned before, because the outside of this, the cambium layer of this tree is not actually broken all the way through, we've got a better chance of that. But if it is completely broken, we can still save it because all we have to do, the major thing that we've got to watch out for is we have to make sure that those cambium layers matched up. Now, again, right below the surface of this tree that we see is the cambium layer. That is what transports all of our water, all of our nutrients. That's what continues to let this tree grow. And if we can make sure that those match up, this will actually heal over and this will save the top part of that tree. If your tree is broken all the way off, I suggest that you find someone that has a really good grafting video because that is what you're going to need to do to this tree. You're going to basically have to graft it back on. Mine wasn't broken all the way, so there's a little less involved. And actually, there's a little less stress on this tree, and we got a better chance of healing. I didn't want to cut that all the way off because your chances of healing are, it depends on the job you do and how well you do it. And I didn't want to take that chance. Now, the first thing that I'm going to do with this is I am actually going to take my sharp knife, and this has got some little plastic cloth type things that are holding it to this metal stake. And I'm going to go ahead and get those out of the way to make it easier for me to deal with this tree. And we're going to pull this metal rod out that was, you know, holding everything up, and this was our stake. Now we're going to save this because we're going to need this for later. We can go in here and we can clean up this break. We're just going to take our pocket knife that was with our grafting kit, and we're going to kind of shave. Now these knives are very, very sharp, so you can be very accurate with these things. And we are going to just clean up this area so that whenever we go to put this tree back together, everything will match up really nice. Because if this doesn't match up really nice, we're going to have some problems. Now, with the grafting kit, the one that I'm going to put here in the description, and I'm going to put a little marker up here for it, you come with a couple of different tapes. But I suggest that you go and get some true grafting tape, because this is going to help you a lot, because this is actually permeable and it will help to keep water from gathering and moisture from gathering around there and causing rot. Now, this is going to be kind of a two-handed operation, because we're going to have to hold this up and we're going to have to graft it, and we're going to have to make sure it doesn't fall over again. But we're going to take a piece of this tape, we're going to tear it off, and then we are going to put our tree up the way that we want it to be. We're going to wrap this grafting tape around it. And now you can be pretty heavy-handed, because this stuff will stretch, and it does make a nice hard, it does have some strength to it. All right. Now that we've got that grafted together, and that's going to hold where we want it to, we're going to put our stake back in. And we are going to take some of this other tape that came with our grafting kit, and we are going to tie that up to our stake to kind of help it hold everything together. Now that we've got everything supported, we can get a little more aggressive with this, and we can use some of the heavier stuff that is going to hold it in place, because we definitely don't want this moving, and we definitely don't want to re-break what is already broken. So make sure that you give this tape a little bit of stretch so that it holds really well. Make sure your rod is really far down in the soil to where it holds real well. And that should save our tree. Now that we've got her all taped up, we've got her ready to start healing, we've got two things left that we got to do. Number one, I've got to move this to an area that is shaded. We don't want direct sunlight on these, because we don't want to stress it out while it's trying to heal. And the second thing is we need to water it really well, and we need to keep it moist, because that is going to give that plant the least amount of stress, and it's going to help it with its healing. So guys, if you liked what you saw here today, I ask you to like, subscribe, share, give me a comment if you think there's something I missed. And of course, as always, I ask you to pray over your family, pray over your garden, pray over your trees, and have a great day.